Sorry, I'm a few minutes late. Oh, man. Let's see. Natural jute, natural jute. I think I'll do white for these two. Oh. See if anybody's up this morning. Morning, everybody. Welcome to Sunday Finishing Work. Got some steaks. I'm doing things a little bit in reverse today. We got some steaks to cord up. I'm doing the stain stuff first, and I'm gonna have to clean my hands because I had to double tongue oil everything else that I'm doing this morning. So I'm gonna be taking my glasses off first because that's annoying. All right. I got this basic steak that I did. We're gonna cord wrap that one with some white cotton cord. Oh, well, I'd say that's 6 inches. What do you think? Yeah, that's 6 inches. You gotta have 6 inches on a vampire steak. Pro tip: vampire steak should always have at least 6 inches of clearance for the stabbing tip, because that is the distance from the outside of the chest for most people to the heart. So if you don't have at least 6 inches of stabbing length on your vampire steak, not going to get the job done. And in some cases, you know, if you have an extremely muscular or even an overweight vampire, it might require more than 6 inches, but 6 inches is the minimum. I researched this, people. Morning, everybody. That's Sunday Finishing Work. You got any questions, feel free to drop them in the chat. I'm going to be here for a while. I got quite a bit of stuff to cord wrap this morning. I had a little trouble getting to sleep last night, so I'm a little sleep deprived. We'll see if I can get through the morning without making any major mistakes due to sleep deprivation. I've got about 4 vampire steaks, which is probably a good thing that I made these, because I think I sold 3 vampire steaks last night. I woke up this morning to a bunch of orders. I sold a Tessin, one of my Tenarashi Tessin war fans sold a Yawara, and a bunch of vampire steaks. So I'm gonna have to pack all that stuff up in the morning and get it shipped out. I was stepping on it. That's probably not a good thing to be doing. And if you got any questions about what I'm doing or what I'm making here at the shop, or what I do here at the shop, or if you got questions about how to kill supernatural creatures or anything mythology related. In my other job, I am a mythologist and a writer. So I write books on mythology, mostly for Penguin Random House and all of their subsidiaries. Right now I'm working on, well, I just finished a Legendary Heroes encyclopedia for them. It's like a kid's encyclopedia, like an illustrated one, like a book fair kind of book, called Legendary Heroes. And I did one last year on supernatural creatures. And right now, I just started working with them. We're doing one called The Unknown. It's about spooky stuff. Like unsolved mysteries kind of things. like ghost ships and poltergeists and hauntings and a few cryptids. But we're not going to do too many cryptids because DK Publishing, they already had me do the Supernatural Creatures book, so they don't want too many supernatural creatures in the unknown book because they don't want the two books to be competing. I'm not sure how those two titles could be competing when they're from the same publisher, but whatever. They don't want people buying one book when they should have bought two books. It's really what they mean. And there we go. This one will probably go up fairly inexpensively on the shop. It's pretty basic. This one's fun. Now, one thing about this one and this one, though, these two made out of pine. And for those of you who are new, you may not know this, there are rules when it comes to staking vampires. And everyone in Hollywood and in books and movies and pop culture seem to like to ignore the fact that there are rules to staking vampires. And one of the first rules is that you never, ever stake a vampire with an evergreen wood. The theory behind that being that evergreen wood is a symbol of immortality, and if you're stabbing a vampire with it, considering vampires are basically immortal beings, you run the risk of it not killing the vampire. That's the lore behind it. And some of the lore, not all of it, but some of the lore even says if you stake a vampire with an evergreen wood, not only will you not kill it, you will make it stronger. So you shouldn't ever stake a vampire with an evergreen wood, because it's not exactly like, I don't know if that part of the lore is true or not, but it's not exactly the kind of thing you want to be experimenting with while you're trying to, you know, finish off an undead, immortal, superhuman creature that drinks human blood. You know, just saying, you might not want to be testing out new theories in that situation. Not exactly the time for that. I think that's why a lot of the lore is so weird, because like there was never really a chance to test if it was true or not, so people would just make stuff up. But when it comes to vampires, there are rules. The other one that most people ignore is that once you stake a vampire, you should not take the stake out. In a lot of movies, they just tap them with the stake into the heart, and it kills them instantly, and then they pull the stake out and use it again. But in most of the old school Romanian and Wallachian lore, you should never take the stake out. The stake doesn't actually kill them in some of the lore. What it really does is it puts them like in a state of suspended animation, kind of. It kind of like stops their heart from beating, so it stops them from being able to function, which I guess doesn't really make sense because they're undead. I'm not sure how their hearts beat, but anyway, I guess with the blood of the people they feed off of, I don't know. Try not to think too hard about this stuff, people. So what you're supposed to do once you've staked the vampire is you're supposed to behead the vampire and then burn what remains. The reason behind that is that even with a stake in the chest, some of the old school lore states that if a vampire is left under the light of a full moon, they can resurrect even with a stake in their chest. So you got to be careful about that. So if you leave them out after you stake them, or you put them somewhere, once the full moon comes, if the light hits their body, they will push the stake, cause them somehow to eject the stake, and they will regenerate and come back to life. So according to the old school Romanian and Wallachian lore, best way to deal with a vampire: first you stake them, then you behead them, then you burn them. So there's your lesson today on how to take down a vampire. And the old lore also states that you should wear a wreath of garlic around your neck, a cross, or a warding object, which is an old Wallachian thing. They had these warding objects you could wear to ward off the evil eye and curses, and a lot of them were said to also work against vampires. And so use that or a cross. And depending on the lore, silver. Silver is pretty universal, though. Silver and iron show up a lot when it comes to fighting supernatural creatures. I've actually thought about buying a smelter so that I can smelt some silver and make some silver-tipped stakes, like with real silver. And I'm not sure. I'm not sure if those would sell or not, because yes, they're silver tipped and they're cool, but the silver would be expensive to smelt, to purchase, smelt, and put on the tip of the stake. And I'm not sure people are willing to buy a super expensive vampire stake that's tipped with silver. That's a pretty big investment for something I'm not sure people will buy or not. If I had other reasons to get a smelter, I would do that. But there we go. Another stake down. This one will go up. Now I got a couple more cool ones. Oh no, where'd my cord go? Hang on one second. I knocked my cord over. There it is. So the next two, I think I'm going to do natural jute cord for those. Hey, what's up, Steph from Scotland? Welcome. Oh, Scotland's actually on my list of places I haven't been that I really want to check out, because I read a lot of books, and it's one of my favorite genres of book is historical fiction. And I read a lot of Bernard Cornwell's stuff from that covers like the Viking expansion. One of my favorite fun facts about Scotland, or a few of the fun facts about Scotland, is one, that Sutherland in the north of Scotland means Southland or southerly land, which I find funny because it's the northern tip of Scotland, but it's called Southland. And that's because it was the Southland to the Vikings that settled there. But what I find most interesting is that when the Vikings first came to England, they landed in Scotland, hung out there for a little while, and were like, nope, fuck this, these people are crazy. And they left. And then they went around to England and found an island with a church on it that was full of gold and silver. And nobody was armed or protecting it. So it was a church. And they pillaged the living shit out of the church. And we're like, this place is way better than Scotland. Everybody in Scotland wanted to fight us. But nobody here seems to want to fight. And they've got silver and gold in these unprotected buildings. So the Vikings decided that this was a good place to raid. And then they decided it's also had really nice water and resources and land. And then they came back and we're like, yeah, I think we're going to keep it. Scotland, beautiful country. I've always wanted to go check it out. I wouldn't mind seeing the whole of Britain, to be honest, this island. Not real keen on going to London. Honestly, I have a lot of other places I'd rather check out. Like I want to see like Bebbanburg or Bebbanburg, and I want to see Hadrian's Wall. You know, Stonehenge, which I know Stonehenge is kind of a touristy spot, but I always thought Stonehenge would be at least cool to see in person. Because I know it's big, but I feel like maybe it's, I don't know. I'm not sure if it would be impressive or underwhelming. Yeah, they did. Yeah, they did. The Romans were like, nope. When it came to the Scots and the Welsh, they were not fans of the Scots or the Welsh. You know, matter of fact, the Romans were the whole reason that, according to the history, is the whole reason that the Scots even ended up with the land that they had, that's now Scotland, because when the old school Anglo tribes first encountered the Romans, they were getting their asses kicked, you know, because they're fighting guys with better weapons, better armor, better organization and training. And so they called the Picts, the Jutes, and the Scots, which were these other northern tribes. And they came down and started pushing the Romans south. And the Romans put that wall up to keep them out. And they were like, thanks, we will take all this land. Because the Picts, Jutes, and Scots were supposed to show up, they were supposed to help, and they were supposed to leave. And after they pushed the Romans south, they were like, you know, I think we'll stay. It's pretty nice here. That's how you ended up with the Scots, because the Scots used to be the Scots, Picts, and Jutes, and then they all just kind of came together as one. And the Hadrian's Wall, yeah, they built that to keep them away. They were terrifying. You know, but you gotta think about it. Like these were the Scots of like the pre-medieval era. These were not, even medieval era Scots were scary, but like pre 9th century Scotland, holy shit. They were freaking animals. They were, I don't mean that in a derogatory way. I mean, they were just terrifying. They were hella good fighters, and they didn't wear armor. These guys ran around in what basically was a kilt, and that's about it. You know, they covered their bodies in paint and did all kinds of crazy stuff. Basically, all the stuff you saw in Braveheart that definitely didn't happen in the Middle Ages happened back in the pre-9th century Scotland. You know, like the not wearing armor and painting their faces and all that stuff. William Wallace and Robert the Bruce and all those guys, they didn't run around on the battlefield in a kilt, okay? They were not stupid. They knew their opponents were wearing full armor. They wouldn't run onto the battlefield with no helmet or helm or anything to protect their head and no armor. I don't know what Mel Gibson was thinking. Probably not a lot, since he pretty much drinks all the time, but you know, I don't know what they were thinking with that. And what I also find funny is one of the main battles in that movie isn't even correct. Like, one of the main battles in Braveheart is at a bridge. That battle was at a bridge, you guys. Like, not in an open field. And what I hate about that is the fact that they chose a bridge was a great tactical choice that they made. Like, because it's kind of like, you know, if you've ever seen 300 or you know of the Spartans at Thermopylae, it was basically the same principle. You know, if you have a bridge, you can line up on that bridge. Your enemy can only come at you so many at a time because they have to cross that bridge. And it makes it where you can funnel your enemy in, and as long as you can keep taking their wave after wave after wave of attacks, you can defend till the cows come home. Oh, there we go. This is a natural live oak steak that I stripped and stained. This one is southern live oak. This came from a tree that was downed in, I want to say this was Hurricane Milton. Oh, see if I cannot dent the tip. I didn't. But a lot of my natural wood steaks are from trees that have come down in hurricanes, so that's fun. That one will go up on the shop later today. But I'm running out of stuff for these natural wood steaks. This one, I'm actually pretty proud of this one. This one is a Vampire Hunter kind of short sword knife. It's got a bladed edge here. It's got a pretty nice little pyramidal stabbing tip. Oh, thanks, Steph. I appreciate that. Thank you for hanging out with me and helping me be less bored as I do my finishing work this Sunday. Really appreciate it. But yeah, this is, for those of you who are new, this is Warrior Wooden Props. I just make weird shit in my shop. I make everything from practice weapons for HEMA, Buhurt, and armored combat. I make, and Kendo, Kenjutsu, Aikido, Karate. I make a lot of practice weapons and actual weapons for those martial arts. I also make props, for cosplayers for the most part. I've made a few props for music videos. Mostly, actually, that's pretty much all as far as stuff that you would see. There's a band called Cursed Bee. They're here on YouTube. I've made a few props for their music videos. Cursed Bee, they're a pretty nice little group. I've made some prop vampire stakes that look like they could be stabbed with them. I made like a wood shim that goes under the shirt that can be taped to the chest, so it looked like they'd been impaled. And all they had to do was put it through a hole in a shirt, and it looked pretty good. And I made an actual stake to match the handle, or actually I made the handle to match the stake that they wanted to use in the music video. And the other thing I'm known for making, and it's my most favorite thing to make, is I make custom baseball bats and custom battle bats. Mostly custom battle bats. Every now and then somebody wants a regular baseball bat, but for the most part I make battle bats, which are all kinds of stuff. I make bats with barbed wire wrapped around them. I make bats with axe heads in them. I've made bats with machetes embedded in them, machete blades embedded in them. I've made spiky bats. I've made nail bats. I even had one dude, and it was kind of a cool idea because I had actually done a similar thing once upon a time, who wanted, he wanted a bat that was coated in grip tape, which, like skateboard grip tape, which is kind of a cool idea because the bat definitely will not slide off of a target. Once it hits, that grip tape will grab on and increase the damage and impact. So that was a pretty cool idea. Unfortunately, that one, I started working on it, and the buyer decided he couldn't afford it about a quarter of the way into the build, but at least I had the deposit, so I had to abandon ship on that one, but it was fun. Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome. If you got any questions, feel free to drop those in the chat. I'm just finishing up the cord wraps on these vampire stakes, and then I gotta wipe down my tung oil stuff, and then I've got some Nightwing sticks I'm going to cord up this morning. And then after I finish that, I've got a bunch of tung oil stuff I've got to handle wrap and put cords in for some Yawara, and I've got a couple of Tenarashi Tessin that I will also need to put wrist loops in. But if you got any questions about what I'm doing or what I do, or like I said, about supernatural creatures or mythology or pretty much any weird stuff, I'm actually somewhat knowledgeable about those things. Man, I'm having trouble waking up this morning. This is not the time for me to feel sleepy and loopy. I'm gonna have some more coffee after this. Although, now that I think of it, the coffee probably won't help much because it doesn't have caffeine in it. Ugh. Doctor told me I needed to cut down the caffeine, so I switched to decaf coffee like about 6 months ago. Do not recommend. Actually, might have been just a few months ago, but I don't recommend it unless you have to for health reasons. I miss the caffeine in the mornings. Almost there. Stay on target. Stay on target. There we go. One more round, and we got this. We got this. All right. Woot, woot. What's everybody up to this morning? Why is everyone up at this ungodly hour? It's 7:30 a.m. Eastern time on a Sunday morning. I feel that most people either that come to my Sunday finishing work are either in another country, they've been up all night, or they're up early for some horrible reason. Because it's a Sunday. Why? I shouldn't be up this early. Why the hell are you guys up this early? It's too early. People shouldn't have to think and do things at this hour. Except for crazy people like myself. So there we go. Got a cool little handle on that. So I'll sell this one as a primitive knife and as a vampire hunter, probably short sword. I would say that's a short sword. That's pretty big. Yeah, I would say this qualifies more as a short sword than a knife. I'll probably call it both in the description. But yeah, that's going to be fun. That's going to go up on the shop today as well. All right, let me put some of this stuff away and have a little drinky drink of coffee. Oh. Ooh, that's the stuff right there. All right, people, let me go wipe down. I got all these tongue oil projects here behind me. I'll be right here. I'm not going anywhere. Just got to wipe this stuff down. Ooh. I'm a sleepy boy. That's a hole in it. There we go. First, I got this Rudis. This is a Roman Rudis sword from Purple Heart. The Rudis was a sword in the Roman Empire. It was a gladius made from wood. It was slightly shorter than an actual gladius. This one's only 24 inches. But it was given to a slave, mostly a gladiator, who had won their freedom, as not only like a symbol of their freedom, like this was their proof that they were a freed gladiator, but it was also a symbol of them having fought for their freedom. So I sell those mostly as trophies. People tend to buy them as trophies or as display pieces. This is a Padauk Tenarashi Tessin. I actually had one in stock and sold it last night, so this one will go up today. Just got to buff these out and let them sit for just a little bit longer. Probably by the time I finish the Nightwing sticks, these should be ready to go. This one is Gray Elm. Actually came over across one of my vendors had some Gray Elm, so I bought a little bit of it and made another Tenarashi Tessin war fan. They're a Japanese. They're called a war fan, but they're not technically a fan. These were used to replace fans because the fans would break. So this made a Tenarashi made a much better striking instrument. Tessin, the actual Tessin itself, Tessin actually is made of iron. Tenarashi is really what this is called, but most people call it a Tessin in the States for some reason. but it's a tenarashi, and tenarashi can be made from anything. But they would use it to whack people over the head. More of a disciplinary tool than like an actual weapon. Mostly used by daimyo, who were the kind of, I guess you could say, the bosses, the lords over the samurai. Daimyo were noble lords, and their samurai were their retainers. The samurai usually lived on their daimyo's land, and kind of like very similar to knights in Europe, how they had lands and titles from their lords. But every now and then a daimyo's got to smack a bitch, and the tenarashi tessen was a great tool for smacking a bitch when a bitch needed to be smacked. And by bitch I mean a very highly skilled samurai. Probably shouldn't. All right, hang on one second. I'll be right back. Where's my? Oh, there it is. Never mind. I won't be right back. I gotta measure out some 550 cord. This is gonna be so much fun. Because these are my Nightwing scramble sticks, and they get this electric, they call it electric blue paracord, not power cord. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 12, 13, 14, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. When they're on a spool like this, it tends to get all curled up, so I have to go over it like this a few times to get the all the curls out of it. Otherwise, it'll kink up the paracord as I'm doing the wrap, and we don't want that. Nobody wants kinks, at least not in their paracord. Boom. They might want it in other places. But nobody wants a kink in paracord. I'm just going to melt this off so it doesn't, so the inner cord doesn't slip into or out of the sleeve. That just helps keep things normal. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 17, 18, 19, 20. All right. I know this is super exciting stuff, right? I'm sorry. I never promised this would be interesting, okay? I just promised you'd get to watch me do my work. I never promised I would entertain you. I'm not a dancing monkey. Oh my gosh, this stuff is so curled up. There we go. Come on, get out of there. While paracord is a great material to work with for all sorts of reasons, from everything from cordage to handle wraps, works really well. When it comes to working with it off of a spool, sometimes it is a pain in the arse. All right, one more pass and I think we've got it. Oh, good gracious. There we go. It gets so curled up that it ends up knotting in on itself. There we go. We can get it out this time. Get the kinks out. There we go. Be gone, foul demon. Squirt of lemon. Sorry, didn't mean to do a Dungeon Soup quote there. I don't know if you've ever seen Dungeon Soup. Highly recommend Dungeon Soup. It is fucking hilarious. I just dropped an F-bomb. I am very sorry about that. I did put this as not for kids, though, so... Alright, let me get my adhesive out. This is one of the few items that I do adhesive when I do a cord wrap, because these are meant to be striking ends on these sticks, so I want them to stay in place. So it's very important to use some adhesive just to make sure they are as tight as they can be and that they're going to stay in place, because those are important things. Because these are, even though they are somewhat cosplay items, they are meant to be functional, and we want... I hate the idea of anyone buying a practice weapon from me and going to use it and having it fall apart. So I do everything I can to make sure my practice weapons are as functional as possible. And it comes to my wasters and boken, they are actually fully guaranteed. Which, good luck finding that anywhere else that sells boken. But, my wasters and my boken are all guaranteed that if they break when they should not break, I will replace them at no charge. You don't have to return the one that you broke. All you have to do is message me on eBay or wherever you bought it and say, hey, I bought this boken from you. I used it in sparring or doing something normal and it cracks, and maybe just send me a picture so I can take a look and see. Because I want to know how it cracked. I want to make sure that I don't let another one crack, you know, and make sure it's not a mistake in the design or something. And then I will make and send you a brand new one, because that's one of the things about like boken and practice weapons that really bugs me, like the stuff that's out there on the internet. None of it's guaranteed. As long once you've bought it, it's yours. And a lot of them will sell these piece of crap boken where they're half wood filler and they're covered in lacquer and paint to cover up all their flaws. And then they'll turn around and sell it to you for more because it's painted. When you're actually just buying a worse boken with paint on it. So yeah, highly recommend. Bare wood is the way to go when it comes to boken. If it's covered in lacquer or paint, there's a good chance they're hiding a flaw in the wood. And if once you use one of their boken, if it breaks, you just SOL. You gotta buy another one. With mine, if that happens, it shouldn't happen. That's the thing. That's why I guarantee my boken, because it should not happen. My boken should not break. Not the way I make them. I always make sure I make mine out of the proper grain pattern. I make sure that it's properly sanded. I make sure that it gets a double tung oil finish and that the striking area at the top third gets a full immersion. I do everything I can to make sure that all of my practice weapons can take a freaking beating. And man, they do. There we go. Hey, what's up, everybody? If you got any questions, feel free to drop them in the chat. I'm just cording up a pair of Nightwing Eskrima sticks this morning. There we go. I'm gonna melt off these ends here, and no, I guess not with that one. That one was just about dead. Time to get another one. And there we go. We got a pretty little knot and a pretty little strike again. It also doubles as kind of a grip. And so it helps as a striking end. It makes the striking end a little more durable, and it gives you a cool little place to grip it. To grip it. All right, there we go. Uh-oh. Hang on. Apparently I didn't get enough kinks out of this 550 cord. Let me do that again. If anyone's got any questions, drop them in the chat. Give me something to talk about that's not paracord, getting the kinks out of paracord. Not exactly the most exciting of discussions. Or tell me what y'all are doing. Either one. Tell me why you guys are up so freaking early. That's my neighbor there. All right. Moving on. There we go. What's everybody up to this morning? Anything more interesting than cord wrapping Nightwing sticks? These Nightwing sticks, I used to make them out of oak. And oak is fine. There's nothing wrong with it when it comes to like a Hanbo or a fight stick. But I felt like since these are Nightwing sticks and Dick Grayson the Robin slash Nightwing, his Nightwing sticks are based on actual Eskrima sticks, and I felt like, okay, so if I'm gonna make actual Eskrima sticks, technically they need to be made of rattan, because rattan is the standard material for making Eskrima sticks. So started making them out of rattan, and I paint the rattan black and then put the paracord on it. Almost there. One more time around. Maybe, yeah, no, we're good. Okay, there we go. Almost. One more around, and I think we've got it. There we go. Where are my scissors? Oh, they're there, right in front of me. I looked everywhere but where they were, which was right in front of me. There we go. All right. There we go. One Nightwing Eskrima stick down. One to go. All right. Yeah, I got a question. Speaking of Nightwing, what's everybody's favorite Robin? Because I find, for whatever reason, among Batman and Robin fans, who your favorite Robin in is, it says a lot about you. It also seems to be a topic of hotly debated topic. To see, like, Tim Drake has been my favorite Robin for most of my life, because, but I think, like, he was the Robin when I was like 13, 14 years old. So I don't know, I think maybe that's why I feel like I related to Tim Drake more. Because by then, like, you know, Dick Grayson was all grown up and he was Nightwing. And Jason Todd was dead at that point in time. He hadn't come back yet as the Red Hood. See, that's the thing that blows my mind, because, like, Jason Todd, his death, I mean, I was a kid when that came out in the comics, when A Death in the Family came out. Like, I was a child. And so, like, the death of Jason Todd, like, that was a big deal to me when I was a kid. And I don't know, sometimes I'm not saying anything bad about Red Hood or Jason Todd. I love the character and I love Jason Todd as the Red Hood. However, like I don't know, sometimes I feel like it was more impactful when they just let him die, you know, like because the idea of a Robin dying as a kid, you never really thought about that. And when Jason Todd bought it, you know, you were like, holy shit. Kind of, I don't know, I almost feel like it reminded you that like Batman and Robin wasn't exactly the most mentally stable thing, because like you do have a grown ass man taking a young boy with him to fight criminals and supervillains, you know, and basically taking a kid into danger all the time. It's a little odd, you know. I don't feel that mentally stable people do that, but it never occurred to you that something could happen, like really happen to a Robin, until Jason Todd was killed. Then you knew, like, oh, okay, shit got real. But when Tim Drake came along, I liked Tim Drake. I think because he was, you know, super intelligent and kind of leaned more on the detective skills than the previous Robins. And also he wasn't like a natural athlete either, like a lot of the other Robin characters, you know, like Jason Todd and Dick. You know, he wasn't a gymnast or anything like that. So when he became Robin, like he had to learn how to be Robin, like more so even I think than this previous two, you know, than Jason Todd and Dick Grayson. You know, he had to go like travel the world and train to learn to fight and stuff, which was really cool. Like the first Robin series was kind of all about that, about how, you know, Tim Drake had to go, you know, travel and learn to become Robin. But he was my favorite Robin, Tim Drake. But I find that them's fighting words with some people, because I know Dick Grayson is a lot of people's go-to because he was the original, but you know, can we talk about his outfit when he was Robin? I mean, come on, dude was out there in a Peter Pan costume. Like, he had no leggings, he had nothing. He just running around in bare legs and freaking sandals. That doesn't seem safe. No weapons, you know. That seemed like an unnecessary danger. Then, you know, Jason Todd, same thing. For most of his career as Robin, he's running around bare-legged. When Tim Drake came along, he was the first Robin with an actual like functional Robin costume. Had body armor. It had a cool, like, the cape was black and yellow. It was more tactical. It wasn't so loud like previous Robin costumes. You know, it was a cool costume. And on top of that, motherfucker showed up with a bow staff. Come on, dude. Robin with a bow staff? That's the coolest thing ever. And cool story. In the original one of the Robin series, he had to fight this King Snake guy, King Cobra, who was blind. And so Robin like carved a little whistle in the end of his staff, so that it would make noise when he spun it certain ways, and the noise from the staff would distract his opponent, because his opponent was blind, and he found a way to beat up on a blind guy, which is, you know, I feel like that's a heroic quality no matter how you look at it. He was a really bad blind guy, though. He was like a crime boss and was getting ready to unleash a plague upon humanity, and he was a bad dude. But yeah, the bow staff. Always been a fan of the bow staff. So it was cool to have a Robin with one. Robin might have been my reason I became so obsessed with the bow staff when I was like 13. Because I had been doing martial arts for years. But man, when I was 13, 14, I really got into doing bow staff work, probably because I was reading Robin, now that I look back on it. All right. I gotta touch up that paint. So because these are natural rattan, sometimes the nodes will have little pieces that flake off after I've painted it, which I hate when that happens. I do my best to flake them off before I paint, but it looks like I missed a spot. That is all right. I can touch that up. Won't be a problem. I have a black enamel paint pen that I will use to make sure that looks okay. It doesn't look like it's caused by any imperfections in the rattan. It's just the top coat, so that should be easy to fix. You guys are being super quiet this morning. What are you all up to out there in YouTube land? Let me turn it this way. There we go. That covered, yeah. All right. There we go. All right. But if anybody's got any questions, feel free to drop them in the chat and I will answer them. Right now I'm just finishing up this last set of Nightwing and sticks. And then we're gonna move on to probably the Yawara and the Tenarashi. I'm gonna get those corded up. I think probably just use black paracord for all that stuff. They got a couple of gray elm Yawara and gray elm and Padauk Tenarashi Tessin. So you get those corded up. You guys are wondering what this adhesive is. It's nothing fancy. It's just gel cyanoacrylate, which is just a fancy way of saying super glue that's very, very thick. This particular one, these are Gorilla Glue brand. I need to go back to my adhesive vendor and make a big order for this stuff so that it's cheaper. Buying the Gorilla brand from the hardware store is a little pricey, and I try to do my best to keep my prices down. The way I do that is I buy stuff, for the most part, I try to buy stuff in large quantities so that I don't spend as much money on materials, because then I don't have to. Let's go around one more time. Because I have to, I have to at least charge what I made for materials plus time plus shipping. And so one way to keep my costs down is to make sure that my base cost for materials is as low as possible without sacrificing the quality, of course, of the item. It's a very tough tightrope to walk, but it's an important one when you're making practice weapons and props, because you don't want stuff to be low quality, but at the same time you don't want people to have to pay an arm and a leg for it. So you got to kind of find a nice balance between what is durable, functional, looks good, but has the lowest cost. I feel like that's an equation I am constantly trying to figure out the answer to for everything that I make. Because like I make these prop sai, I make a Raphael and Electra sai, and I've got sold out of the Raphael sai right now, and I've got one more set of the Electra sai, and then after that I don't think I'm going to make anymore, because the hard part for me is that most people don't want to. What I would really need to sell them at is about $75 to make any money off of them, because they're so expensive and they take so long to make. And so, and you know, the truth is, most people just don't want to spend $75 on a pair of prop sai. I mean, you can get a pair of real sai for less than $75. So, you know, right now I've sold most of the sets I've sold at a loss. And so, you know, I probably won't. I've got one more set that I need to make. I'll probably make one more set of the Raphael sai, and then probably won't make any more after that unless it's a custom, like someone comes to me and asks for it for a custom order, because oh, good gracious. There we go. Nope. No, we don't. Oh my good gracious. There we go. Come on. Yeah. There we go. Whoop, whoop. All right, there we go, folks. Now we got a pair of Nightwing Eskrima sticks that I'm going to have to touch up the paint on in a couple of spots, but they're pretty much done. And I've got a pair of tactical Hanbo over here that you guys can't see. I stained them yesterday with black gel stain. When I came in this morning, the wood grain was still pretty visible through it, so I gave it a second coat of the black gel wood stain. And let me move this stain stuff. So yeah, I gave it a bunch of the black gel wood stain this morning, so I gotta let it sit for another 24 hours. I'll probably cord those up later this week. Now, these are our vampire steaks. If you guys weren't here earlier, these have already been cord wrapped. I did these first. So these will go on the shop today, which is a good thing because I sold a bunch of steaks last night. I sold so many steaks last night. I sold a bunch of stuff last night. It's crazy. It's always nice when you wake up in the morning and you have a whole bunch of stuff that's been ordered overnight. But I think this is a payday weekend, so usually it's a good weekend for me. But what I love also is all the orders that came in last night were from returning customers, and that always makes me super happy when people come back to buy stuff from my shop after they buy one thing and they really like it, and they come back and get a bunch of other stuff. So let me check my tongue oiled stuff, make sure it is, yeah, that's dry enough. Let me buff them a little bit. this one, I don't know why. This piece of Purple Heart, it had a slightly whiter grain in it than Purple Heart I usually work with, and it was a little more sappy of a piece. I had more sap in it than most of the seasoned Purple Heart that I work with, and it just didn't quite come out sanded as nice as I would like. I don't know, and it still looks good. It's still sanded up to 1,000 grit. It's still super smooth. It's just not quite as shiny as I would like. I think it's because of that sap that was in the wood, maybe. I don't know. I went over it. I shape everything at about 40 grit, and then I start at 120 grit, and I work up from 120 to 180 to 220 to 320 to 400 to 600, then 800, then 1,000. So I sand everything starting at 120 grit and work all my way up to 1,000 grit. So we're gonna cord up this stuff. These two Tenarashi and a couple of Elm Yawara, and hopefully I can get a handle on that. Get a leather handle wrap on the oh god, my Rudis sword, the Purple Heart Rudis, Gladius Rudis. My brain is not braining. All right, let me get my ruler. I just need to measure out some stuff. We're gonna go with black paracord for the Yawara and for the Tessin or Tenarashi. That's gonna drive me nuts calling it a Tenarashi Tessin, because it's technically a Tenarashi, but people here in the States call it a Tessin. It's kind of like nunchucks. Like the word is nunchaku. That's the Japanese word. But here in the States and in the West, people tend to say nunchucks, which is not, it's not plural. Like, I don't know why we heard the S at the end of it. It's just one. It's nunchaku, not nunchuck, not nunchucks. Nunchaku. Nunchaku. Thank you for the likes, everybody. Appreciate it. And for the hearts. All right, let me measure out 12 inches. And if anyone's got questions, feel free to drop them in the chat. I've got about 5 more things to get fixed this morning, and then I'm calling it a day. I'm gonna go home. I'm gonna be the laziest son of a bitch you could possibly imagine for the rest of the day. I'm probably might watch a bad movie. Probably will watch a bad movie. I have a weird addiction to bad movies. And I watch a bad movie. And if I have some time, I might play some Helldivers. I haven't decided yet. I am a bit of a Helldivers 2 fanatic. I love that game so much. I haven't had a lot of time to play the last week or two, which is crazy because there's been so much going on in the game and I haven't been able to play. Because last Tuesday, I lost my day job due to a corporate restructure. My position was eliminated, which I fear is probably just a nice way of saying they replaced me with AI. I'm a marketing copywriter. We were getting replaced with AI left and right. So, you know, what are you gonna do? So anyway, but because I lost my job, I had to look for a new one. And I'm working for the guy that has a shop next to mine. He does home renovations and he needed somebody who knew how to sand. And guess what? That's like 80% of what I do all day at the shop is sand. Seriously, when I work on Saturdays, it probably takes me about an hour to an hour and a half to make everything. The next like 5 to 6 hours of my day is me sanding all the things I made in that first hour and a half. There we go. And this is a Yawara palm stick for those of you who might be new. This is very common in karate, jiu-jitsu. You also see it in traditional Japanese jiu-jitsu. You also see it in some Filipino martial arts. They just call it a palm stick. But it has the little anchor cord so that it doesn't slip out of your hands when you use it. And it just works as an extension of your fist. These particular ones are made out of gray elm, which is my first time making out of gray elm. It's very light. But oddly, it's really strong for as light of a wood as it is. So I was kind of surprised by how strong it was, because when I ordered gray elm, I've never worked with it before, and I thought I should give it a shot. It said it was super easy to work with and dense, which it is. But the thing I wasn't expecting was how light it would be. Like, there's a part of me that's kind of tempted to try to make a bokken out of it and give it some impact tests to see how it handles as a bokken. But, because, I mean, this would be light as hell to have as a bokken. And if it's strong, it would make a pretty nice little weapon. But yeah, these Yawara, though, these were one of the weapons that were carried by the Shurite, who were kind of like bodyguards, I guess you could say, of the Okinawan royal family. When the Japanese first took over that island, and they were forbidden by law from carrying weapons. These ended up actually being the godfathers, you might say, or the forefathers of what we now call karate, because they had to figure out a way to fight without weapons, and karate kind of became the way that they did that. But originally, karate was not karate. It wasn't empty hand. It was that'll do. Originally, there were quite a few weapons. The only thing was, since they were not allowed to carry weapons, they had to find things that weren't technically weapons. They had to look for that loophole. They had to find things that weren't technically weapons that they could use as weapons. And that's how you get stuff, like the kama or sickle. That was just a farming tool. Nunchucks were originally they were one of two things. They were either this weird rice flail thing that they had, or they were it was like a threshing tool, or they were part of a horse harness or a cattle harness that went like on the sides of the animal's head, but there was a chain that went through, as a bit in the mouth, and they figured out that they could, swing those around, and that's how you got nunchucks. At least that's how it was told to me. And sai, there's some debate on sai. I've heard 3 or 4 different people explain the origins of Psy to me. And what I find interesting is they all told me something different. So that's always concerning. I don't know that any of them knew for sure what they were talking about. The one that I think makes the most sense, even though I'm not entirely sure if it's accurate, is that Psy were originally these like things that they used when they were replacing wagon wheels. It went into like an area that like held the wagon up on the axle so they could put the wheel on. Like, I don't know if that's true or not, and I've never seen any evidence to support that, so do with that what you will. That was just told to me, so I have no idea how accurate that is. But a lot of what we know as ninja weapons were actually karate weapons that were created by the Shurite bodyguards of the Okinawan royal family. Thank you guys so much for hanging out with me this Sunday. Even though you guys have been really quiet, like you guys have been so quiet. It's crickets up in here. Steph, the only one that's talked to me. All right. So I put a little hole in the bottom of these tenarashi so that you can use this one, or you can replace it with one of your own. That way you've got a little wrist tether. And this one is Padauk, which Padauk is fun. This wood is insect resistant. It is decay resistant. It sands up beautifully, as you can see. My super chat options, I have no idea what super chat options are. So I have no clue where my super chat options are at. But Padauk is fun. Hey, Jakabe, is also good to see you. The Padauk over the years, it changes color. It starts out as this kind of bright orange, and over the years it turns slightly darker. It turns into almost like a purplish brown, which I know is a weird color. It's like an orangish purplish brown. It's a weird, it's a really hard color to describe. But it's kind of cool because the longer you own it, the darker it gets. You know, like you're collecting the souls of your enemies. I'm just kidding. Please don't collect the souls of your enemies with my stuff. But yeah, so there we go. We got a Padauk tenarashi, but it's very strong wood. It's a beautiful wood, and it's a color changing wood. You just gotta wait for it. Now we gotta do this bad boy, I think. I don't know, I feel bad that it's not, I mean, it's shiny, but I wish it was shinier. I mean, it's shiny. It's sanded to 1,000 grit. I'm a little OCD when it comes to sanding. And I like, it's like super smooth. Oh, like you can donate and stuff? I have no idea. I didn't even know that was an option. I will look into that. I mean, I don't need you guys to donate. But thank you. I will figure that out, Jakafe. I honestly don't know. I am an old man, and I don't know how technology works. So that might be a problem. But I will look into the super chat options. I'm not sure if I even qualify. I know for some of that kind of stuff, like monetization stuff, you have to have a certain number of like followers and things. I don't have a lot of them, but I will look into that and figure it out if that is a thing I can do. And if it is, I will figure out how to activate it. And I'm not entirely sure. Like, one thing I've noticed, and I don't know what's going on with YouTube, and I'm not really complaining about it necessarily, but like the chat options seems like they have changed lately. Like the new stuff with the super fan, like the top fans thing, like that's new to me. I'm not sure when that started. And then where it shows like the top fan of who's commented the most and that stuff. That's pretty new to me. I'm not entirely sure. So it's possible if that was on before and it's disappeared, it's possible that they changed something and I just don't know what it is. All right. So the hard part here is that this leather, it's a really nice pigskin type leather. But it's hard for me to know how much of it I'm going to need for the handle because I have to cut the other side so that it fits. All right, so I would say about there. Okay. There we go. There we go. All right. So that's gonna be get cut. Trying to roll this. Oh, I see. I'm on the wrong side. There we go. Story of my life. All right. And then, where's the, okay, there's, so the thing is, see, it's got like a taper that's cut into it so that, and then you have to do it on the other end. So I got to kind of rewrap it and figure out where I need to cut the taper because I have terrible spatial awareness and I can't just look at it and understand how to do that. All right, so let's see. Get down to the bottom here. So yeah, so it's going to be this way. Well, there we go. All right, let's go over it one more time. Let's see, make absolutely sure I got that correct. So I really hope I did because this pig skin is not cheap. These are normally these are used as handles for, get on there. Yeah, that's correct. All right, cool. This particular leather is used as a wrap for all kinds of stuff. It's used for tennis rackets, badminton rackets, ping pong paddles, all kinds of stuff. It's used. It's a pretty common tape, but it's made out of real leather, which makes me happy. Oh, did that? Oh, I hate when that happens. Sometimes the adhesive comes off with the applicator. I don't like that. There we go. Oh, come on. All right. Well, that's going to be a problem. But we'll get it worked. We'll get it figured out. All right. Is that the... That is the... Yeah, okay. You want to make sure you go slow and that you stretch as you go. This is one of those things when you're working with baseball bats or anything, when you're working with anything that's this kind of material, you don't want to rush. You just want to go slow. Make sure you're stretching all along as you go. And then, there we go. Got a nice little leather handle on our Rudis sword. I just got one last thing left to do. I gotta get some finishing tape. And, oh, there's my, look at that, finishing tape was right there. And, sure, I wipe that off. There's no dirtiness on it. And if it, yeah, I live in a world where I have to take my glasses off to see better. But yeah, I don't know geography where that ended up. It's so weird. Gotta figure that out. I honestly, I've never seen it from the other side, so. All right. Looks like just at the bottom here, the top is pretty good to go. And you want to stretch it, the finishing tape, you want to stretch it just slightly, but not a lot. Just enough to make sure it's tight, but not enough to where when you go to put the final part on, when you cut it, if you've stretched it too much, it'll start pulling back on itself, and you don't want that because it is vinyl. Vinyl does have the tendency to try to go back to its original shape for a little bit, and so you just usually want to keep an eye on it to make sure that it stays in place. So there we go. Now we have a Purple Heart Rudis trophy sword. That'll go up on the shop today as well. Whew. Yeah, what time is it? Oh, it's been about an hour and a half. Perfect. Normally I go for about an hour and a half to 2 hours on Sunday Lives. Anyway. But my Sunday Lives are usually just me finishing everything I worked on through the week. I also do a live on Saturdays, usually around 12:30. For my Saturday staining. It's not quite as interesting. I don't know that this is even interesting, to be honest, but my Saturday staining is after I finish sanding all this stuff, because that's what I spend my Saturdays doing, is just making stuff and sanding the living shit out of it. And then after I'm done with that, it usually takes me, I usually get done by about noon, a little after noon, sometimes a little later, but I go live at 12:30. It's not between 12:30 and 1. On Saturdays to do Saturday staining, where I tongue oil everything and stain it all up and distress it if I need to pre-distress it before I finish it. And then Sundays we come in here at 7:30 in the morning. Oh yeah, I saw that Jogger about the Anne Rice. You're talking about is it called Talamasca? Is that what it's called? About the Watchers in the Anne Rice universe. They kind of watch the vampires and document vampires and stuff. But yeah, I saw they're doing a series on that, which I find interesting because I always thought that was kind of a cool element of the Anne Rice world. I just and I don't feel that it was one that got a whole lot of attention until it did. And I think it's going to be interesting to see this, because I don't think it, for some reason with Anne Rice's stuff, you know, obviously it's not, it's related to vampires, but it's not directly a vampire thing. So maybe that's why it's never been adapted. So, but yeah, I saw that they're making the Talamasca series, which is going to be cool. I loved the interview with the vampire series, and I loved all of that. That was amazing. I've known some people that watched what is it called, a Gathering of Witches, or the Mayfair Witches, that they liked that. And give me one sec, guys. I gotta go throw this away. Oh, I'm so tired of my brain not braining. Brain is not braining. Oh yeah, I've got these 2 baseball bats. Speaking of Jagafe, I need to talk to you about what you wanted for the handle wraps on these bats, because I know what you want as far as paint is concerned, but what do you want as far as their handle wraps are concerned? I just need to know that, so I need to make sure, so I know that I have the right colors in stock. I'm going to start painting these this week. One's going to be black, and the other one's going to be orange and blue for your custom order. But yeah, I'm working on them. All right. There we go. Whew. All right. Oh yeah, the Brutus sword. But anyway, folks, I am almost done for today. Unless you guys have any questions for me, I am gonna do my finished projects video that I usually post. I usually post the finished project video like Tuesday or Wednesday. Just as for some reason people seem to watch them more when I post them on Tuesday or Wednesday. So I'm going to, but I film it on Sunday when I'm done. But I usually, yeah, I will post it probably Tuesday or Wednesday, my finished projects video for this week. But everything you saw on this live is either already on the store or will be on the store by the end of today. My shop is Warrior Wood and Props. We are on eBay. You can get the link in my bio. I also have a main store, warriorwoodandprops.com. Unfortunately, right now, it is not functioning properly. You can contact me using the contact me, message me button at the website and ask me questions if you're interested in a custom order, or you can do that on eBay as well. I'm taking custom orders for Halloween right now. I don't take custom orders for Christmas until about the end of October, because I'm very busy during the Halloween season, as you can imagine. I sell a lot of stuff. Like, make a lot of sales this week. This week has been absolutely nuts. I made like 6 sales just last night, most of them vampire steaks. So yeah, the shop's going to be very busy, but near the end of October, I will start taking custom orders for the holiday season. But for right now, if you got a Halloween custom order, get it in like this. Don't wait until October, because if you come to me like the second week of October with a custom order for Halloween, you're probably not going to get it, because I usually by then I am completely booked up already. So if you got a custom order you need for Halloween, now is the time. September. Definitely you want to get to me by like the first week of October, because usually after the first week of October, I have no more room for custom orders. They're all my custom order slots are taken at that point. Because I'm only one guy. I don't have a team. I guess literally Warrior Wood and Props is literally just one dude in a shop, you guys. It's not. I'm not like leading a pack of people here. Like, no, it's just me. So all the custom orders that I take, I have to do myself. So I don't take them unless I know I can do them, unless I know they are I can do them and they will be, you know, high quality. I don't want to be rushing stuff. So I probably will do like 3 or 4 more custom bats. I have 3 or 4 more custom bat slots open for the Halloween season, and I have at least 3 or 4 more just general customs that you guys can do. So if you want a custom order for Halloween, highly recommend. At least get to me, like doesn't mean you have to pay me right away, but if you're interested in one, get to me, like, so that I at least have you on the list as somebody that is going to be one of my Halloween custom orders. And also, don't just tell me, like, I've had an issue with this with people sending me emails about custom orders. They're like, I want the this from this, like, kind of a email. And I'm like, okay, that's great. But, like, maybe give me some details. Like, send me a photo, you know, let me know, like, lengths and sizes and things. Like, just telling me I want the, you know, I want the nunchucks from this movie or something. Like, they like, I don't know what that is. Like, you're going to have to be more specific. And also, I don't know what length you want it to be or anything like that. I need a little more details. So the more details you can include when you contact me, the faster I can get an estimate for you. And then once I give you the estimate, you know, you let me know if you're ready to green light, and I will start making it. Sometimes I take a deposit. Most of the time I take a small deposit, like never more than like 25% of what the item costs, or what the item costs you. So, you know, just so I'm not out materials. But you guys, if you need a custom order, now is definitely the time to get in touch with me for those. Definitely no later than the first week of October. But anyway, I think I am done for today. I am pretty tired. I did not sleep. I could not get to sleep last night for some reason. I finally did get to sleep. Then I had to wake up early. So anyway, I'm going to go home and watch a bad movie and be very lazy for the rest of the day. But anyway, I'm out of here. As I said, if you want to get in touch with me for a custom order, go to warriorwoodandprops.com or go to my eBay shop and just message me on eBay. And do not buy anything from my Shopify shop, even though I don't think anything's even available for sale right now. But if you want to buy products, go to my eBay shop. Link is in my bio. All right, people. Thanks so much for hanging out with me on this Sunday, and I will see you next week. I'm out.